Hey F1 fans, and welcome to
Formula
Well, who had that on their bingo card? Whoever predicted a Russell win, then gold star for you. My predictions were close, but no cigar. I did not have Russell in the picture at all, and neither did he, as even after the race, he was lost as to why he won. With Max in second and Lando third, with Oscar following him home, it means that Max just about stays in the championship hunt. And with a lot of good tracks coming up for him, I can see him taking at least 3 more wins, but he would also need the McLaren boys to tangle, and that might just happen with the constructors done, which hopefully means bye-bye to Papaya Rules. After Lando's turn 3 shenanigans, I'm thinking Oscar will definitely be saying goodbye to the Papaya Rules as well, as it seems contact is now fair game and just hard racing, as Zac Brown puts it. So game on when we get to Austin. Anyway, onto the more like a Singapore, am I right? Like I said, it's the last Boar Fest of the year, but boy, we got some drama out of it. I'll have to say that the Boar Fest was due to terrible TV coverage and cuts to the drivers' girlfriends instead of track action. What's with cutting to drivers' girlfriends all of a sudden? Okay, I know there was not much track action and they missed all of Sainz's overtakes in the closing up of Alonso on Hamilton, and they replaced that with shots of the Wags. I mean, come on. And it was only a couple of GPs ago that we were flooded with Lando's mum at every screen cutaway, so what's up with the camera directors lately? So a Russell win, and how's that for you, Toto? Pole and pretty dominant win, is that doing it for you or what? It seems like Russell has been offered a 1+1 deal with Mercedes, but with a clause that if he outperforms Antonelli by a certain percentage margin in points, then he can extend for 27. Not really sure why this would be a clause, because if Russell rates himself, then he shouldn't be concerned with the performance clause regarding his sophomore teammate. He has also reportedly sent back a few contract offers from Toto because George won't agree to the length of it, and some media day commitments need to be reduced. So this contract talk could go on for a bit longer still, unfortunately. Now on to a bit of news, and it has been announced that Alex Dunn has been released effective immediately, and Helmut has been sniffing around to sign him for Racing Bulls. There is seemingly no seat at McLaren, so Alex didn't see a way in there, unless there is tension later in the season or for 26. If Oscar decides he has had enough of Papaya Rules and instigates Piastri Rules, then we could see the team split and Lando sulking off to another team. There could also be a crash in Austin where Oscar shunts Lando, and then Lando will start thinking about getting out of McLaren, so maybe Dunn has left at the wrong time, but we will have to wait and see. Apart from Racing Bulls, there is also some rumours that Dunn could go to Alpine if Flavio doesn't keep Colapinto on, but I can't see that happening as Franco is really starting to turn it on at the right time of year. Apparently Aston Martin is another destination, but for a reserve driver role, and then slot in if Fernando retires at the end of 26, like he keeps threatening to do, although according to Fernando, if the car is bad, he will stick around for 27, which still doesn't make sense to me, but okay bud. If the AMR 26 is good, I reckon Newey and a truckload of cash will get Max turning his head, which will shut the door for Dunn to Aston Martin, so it'll be interesting to see what Alex has in mind for his F1 future. There was a news story that has recently come out of the F1 paddock all the way from rallying, with a kid called Kalle Rovanperä from Finland being touted as the Max Verstappen of rallying. He has been in a car from a really young age and is the youngest rally podium finisher, race winner and youngest WRC champion in the history of the sport, all at the age of 25. He has also done a lot of drifting and raced last year in the Porsche Cup with some success. Rovanperä has ties with Red Bull as a sponsor, which allowed him to have a test in Vettel's 2012 car around the Red Bull ring late last year, and it seems that's where he got the bug of wanting to work his way to F1. He has signed a deal with Japan's Super Formula Series for next year, and depending how he does there, he then wants to get into F2 before trying to join F1, similar to the path Colton Herta has taken, with the aim of getting to F1 in his near future. So keep a lookout for Kalle Rovanperä as a new talent on the horizon. We also had a great full circle story of Romain Grosjean finally back in an F1 car for the first time since his fiery 2020 Bahrain crash, and how fitting that it was in a Haas car. He said he had heaps of fun and was even rocking a helmet his kids helped design that was meant to be for his last race that 2020 season, which made him a bit emotional when he pulled back into the pits to a guard of honour by all his old team. He should have had a test with Mercedes, which was promised to him after that crash in 2020, but I think Toto is a bit busy not signing contracts at the moment. Horner has been on his phone again. Wait, no, it's not that. He has been ringing around to every team up and down the grid, and funnily enough has been rejected by them. It looked like there were some kind of discussions with Haas, but Horner will want a lot of control like he had at Red Bull, and Gene won't want to give up any power or profits within his team, as Günther Steiner found out the hard way. So I think those talks have stalled. On other Horner news, and it seems he has settled the lawsuit out of court, reportedly paying his ex-personal assistant $3 million to make it go away, which probably came from his Red Bull payout money, and I'm not too sure if that should have been allowed. It basically means that Red Bull, in a roundabout way, paid out their own personal assistant, who was fired and shamed in the media, by paying Horner his leave. It says a lot about how much Horner was willing to sweep this under the carpet, so he didn't have to have his day in court and could come back into F1 as soon as his gardening leave is over, which is presumed to be around the break of 26. I don't like how this has gone down, and I hope he doesn't weasel his way back into F1 anytime soon. Okay, enough of that before I throw up, and onto the drama and action we got from the Singapore weekend. We had George on pole, and then he got excited and a bit frisky with his other pole. Oop, there goes that vomit again. So our front row was, oh damn, that's weird. We had McLaren drama at turn 3, and it was funny that Zac Brown was saying, coming into the weekend, that he wanted to try and get Max out of this Drivers' Championship and just let his two McLaren drivers fight it out. But bad luck, because Max slammed himself right back into the mix again. It wasn't a win like Max needed, but I would argue this is even better due to the failure and complete breakdown of Papaya Rules, and this will mean the gloves are off between Oscar and Lando. This could give Max a chance with a DNF for one or even both of the McLaren boys, and that's all it takes for Verstappen to be a real threat, and he won't need to be asked twice to steal their lunch and run away with it. He also doesn't need any incentive to race hard, and that line of "it's noted and will be remembered" could come to change the landscape of the Drivers' Championship. Max is not someone you want to piss off, so for Lando to be in his bad books is not ideal. And when you go for your first championship, all it takes is for those two to be fighting wheel to wheel, holding each other up while Piastri runs off to a win, and with not many races left, it would almost be all over for Norris. Also, can we talk about the radio messages Norris was being told, like Lando DRS is active now, and then open the DRS earlier, along with just remember who you are, race as you. And then we had make sure to drink buddy, and I've packed your lunch sweetie, it should be in the glove box. Then the most ridiculous one of them all, with Lando being asked again, like in Monza, hey darling, would you like to pit first or could Oscar pit first? With him saying yep, and then backing out of that decision, probably with the Monza slow pit stop in mind. Could you imagine if Lando had said, yeah, let Oscar pit first, yet again, and then Lando gets the slow pit stop and gets undercut by Oscar? If I was Andrea Stella, I would have said, all even here now, and that's for the first lap incident, Lando. Suck it up, princess. As it turns out, it was Oscar who had a slow pit stop, and finished less than that slow pit stop behind Norris. So if Monza was fair game, then should McLaren have swapped them around due to Monza version of Papaya Rules? Let me know what you think you would have done in the comments below. For me, inverting it would have been a step too far, but this is the hole McLaren have dug. And on top of that, you have Norris quoted as saying, "There are no Papaya Rules anymore." Well, that's very convenient for you, isn't it? I bet Oscar will be thinking the same thing when racing Lando in Austin, and if McLaren come over the radio about a move Piastri has pulled, then he will do what Alonso threatened and what Oscar actually did to Zac Brown after Singapore and rip out his radio. I seem to remember McLaren were quite quick to jump on the radio to Oscar in Austria and Hungary when they feel he was getting too close to Lando. But flat out wheel banging is fine, I guess, if it's in Lando's favour. I can feel Oscar getting fed up with always being on the wrong side of Papaya Rules and racing Lando very differently from now on. With some advice from Hamilton, I think we can see some spice in Austin. Talking of spicy, we had Alonso's sassy radio back again, and then turning grumpier and grumpier during the race until he finally boiled over at the end. That is some of the most intense radio messages I've heard, and I love it. He got so worked up over an 8th place finish that he was going back through the weekend, rattling off Hamilton's red flag breach, then all the way back to when they tried to give him the meatball flag for his wing mirror a few years ago. I'm surprised he didn't mention the 2007 Hungarian qualifying session with how much he was raging out. His rant at the end of the race was biblical and is only matched as the biggest dummy spit over radio by Max from Hungary last year. It was like he had just lost a championship, but instead of the blank stare, we got comedy gold. And it didn't end there, with Hamilton adding on Instagram with a funny compilation of an old British show just to mess with Alonso for old time's sake. Tying into Hamilton, and man, do we have to do it again. This Ferrari disaster class yet again has got to be the worst of the season, but I'm not sure how many more times I can say this, as I mean, at this point the horse has left the building. Is it time to start calling them the red wheelie bins? Because they aren't F1 cars anymore with the amount of lift and coast. Just take the engines out and let them pedal around the track, because at this point they aren't even driving. As Charles said, they are just passengers. If we are having to lift and coast from the first lap and Leclerc had to do 200 metres of Lyco, it's time to pack up and head onto the winter break to get ready for 26, because this isn't racing, it's just driving around as a mobile marketing banner, and not a very good one at that. Please just end my Ferrari misery and retire the cars after qualifying and ship them to the next race. On to a more positive note, and Franco has been on a decent run of form lately to out-qualify Gasly 4 out of the last 5 weekends and the last 3 straight sessions, while also finishing ahead in the race more often than not. I'm hoping this will make the decision easier for Flav and to just sign Franco for 26, because I can't see anyone else who will slot in and do a better job. So let Colapinto shine for the rest of the year and put his mind at ease for next season. He will only get better with nearly a full season under his belt going into 2026 and a new reg set, which I think will suit him better, and we could really see some great things for Franco in the future. Now let's look at Star and Clown of the Day, and I think for Star of the Day it would be easy to go with Russell, but yet again he did nothing really, so I'm going with Carlos to basically do a last of points challenge, even though we didn't see any of it. He made his tyre last 50 laps while everyone else was complaining, and then put softs on and went on an overtaking rampage to gain Williams 1 point, so well done, Sainz. As for Clown of the Day, it is becoming too boring to say Ferrari again. I could be more specific and say Ferrari's lack of brake cooling ducts, which led Leclerc to do endless Lyco, and Hamilton's brakes to say bye-bye. So yeah, I'm going with that. Well done Ferrari yet again. Okay, so that just about does it for the Singapore GP, and next year we have a sprint at this track to look forward to. Yay! Let me know who your star or clown of the day was, and thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.